Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and today we've got some pretty big news if you want to be playing Pokemon, specifically if you want to be playing Pokemon in the expanded format. Because you see, Paldean Fates is coming out next Friday. And because Paldean Fates is coming out next Friday, we have got an update to the banned list. This happens when a new set gets released. And we've actually got something which is being added to the banned list for the first time in a long time. It's Scoop Up Net. And I know some of you are going to be taking a bit of a double take here, getting a bit of deja vu, going, hang on a second, what's he? Wasn't Scoop Up Net already banned? Yes. In Japan. But it wasn't banned over here. And for what it's worth, when it was banned in Japan, I told you it was going to get banned over here. What's interesting is they're a bit late. Because we'll get more into the details in a minute, but basically, what you need to know for the second is the number one card which has gone and got this banned was Iron Valiant. Well, Iron Valiant came out in Paradox Rift. So, and that's when Japan banned it, incidentally. Japan went, oh, you know what, that new Iron Valiant in Paradox Rift? No, mate. That was Scoop Up Net. Not good. Let's ban it. So that makes perfect sense to me. This should have been banned with the release of our Paradox Rift. Because that's when the combo was on the table. Metaphorically speaking. Banning it now? I mean, look, better late than never, right? Had to be done. But I do think it's fair to point out, like, this should have happened with the release of Paradox Rift. It definitely should have happened with the release of Paradox Rift. Doesn't really matter now, it's gone, but I just want that on the record, alright? I want it on the record that this is a little bit late. Cool? We happy? Excellent. And it is worth noting, of course, that this is a ban which is only going to affect the expanded format. Because, of course, this is a card that came out in Rebel Clash, and Rebel Clash rotated a while ago at this stage. So, we don't have this in the standard format, and it's not coming back at this stage. I think that's fair to say. Scoop Up Net was a bit of a problem, and part of the problem with Scoop Up Net was the wording. Because the wording of Scoop Up Net is, put one of your Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon V or a Pokemon GX into your hand. And that meant that any Pokemon that came later, like an EX, for instance, like Iron Valiant, isn't excluded from being picked up by Scoop Up Net. It means things that came before, like Shaymin, for instance, aren't excluded from using Scoop Up Net. This was always going to be a problem. And I'm just going to point it out one more time. Like 3 years ago, I made this video saying this will be banned. You'll notice that I'm using a Japanese scan of Scoop Up Net because I made that video before we'd seen the English version of the card. And I wasn't the only person saying this. It wasn't some kind of ridiculous prediction that only I made. But as soon as we saw that card in Japan and we saw the wording of that card, we went, oh no. No, that's going to cause problems. And on the thumbnail there, you'll see I've got a bunch of EXs, old school EXs, Shaymin, Whale, Jirachi, because those cards could be used with Scoop Up Net and were going to cause problems, and incidentally, did cause problems. And a few sets later, they did actually make some changes to the way they phrase cards, which in theory will stop this happening again. Because, of course, starting in Battle Styles, they started referring to Rule Box Pokemon. So Cherrim can attach Grass Energy as often as you like to Pokemon that don't have a Rule Box. And nowadays we see cards that are specifically not for Pokemon with a Rule Box. Take Reversal Energy. It's great for evolved Pokemon that don't have a rule box. So cards like that, because of this new phrase of rule box, we're not worried about this happening again, because in theory, were a card like this to be released in the future, it wouldn't say you can pick up a Pokemon other than GXs and Vs. It would say you can pick up a Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box, and it wouldn't create this same kind of situation. Back then, we weren't using that wording. And look, this got Shaymin banned. And at the time, I did suggest maybe it's not Shaymin, maybe it's Scoop Up Net. Because the thing is, Shaymin lets you draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. And unlike more recent cards, it's not limited to once during your turn. It's once per Shaymin per turn. So you could potentially, just play Shaymin, draw till you've got 6 cards in your hand. Play Scoop Up Net, pick up Shaymin, play down Shaymin, draw until you got 6 cards in your hand, and essentially every Scoop Up Net just turned into a new Shaymin. It was blatantly going to be a problem. And it was incidentally a problem, and they went and banned Shaymin, but the problem was always Scoop Up Net. And the thing with Scoop Up Net is, it is very literally broken. And by that I mean, it doesn't work as intended. The point of Scoop Up Net was always pick up a single prize Pokemon to heal it or reuse an ability, whatever, but don't pick up your big 2 prize Pokemon. Like I mentioned Wailord before. Well, Wailord is huge. It's absolutely gigantic. And the problem with that is that it's hard to one-hit KO. Okay, fine, nowadays 250 isn't actually that high for a 2 prize Pokemon, but at times it was. And certainly when Scoop Up Net came out, it still was. And then you've got this issue of it's a 2 prize Pokemon, and Scoop Up Net can pick it up and completely heal it if you don't one-hit KO it. But like I've said, the straw that broke the camel's back here was Iron Valiant, and it's all to do with the ability Tachyon Bits. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to your active spot, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And we know that if you switch the same Iron Valiant in and out of the active, you don't get new uses of the ability. You get to use it once per Iron Valiant per turn. But if you pick it up and play it back down again, well, that changes everything. That means you get to use it again. Yeah, and that's why it's gone and been banned. Here's what they said on the website. Scoop Up Net was banned from the expanded format. Remember, it's not legal in standards. That was always going to be a moot point. Scoop Up Net cannot be used on Pokemon V or Pokemon GX, but it can be used on other Pokemon with a rule box. There are many dangerous combos of this card, and a new one was introduced with the Scarlet and Violet Paradox Rift expansion, which goes back to my point of this should have happened when Paradox Rift was released. The combination of Iron Valiant EX and Scoop Up Net allows the use of the Tachyon Bits ability repeatedly, making it very possible to win the game on the first turn when going first. While this strategy isn't guaranteed to be successful, it happens frequently enough to create an undesirable environment for the expanded format. Scoop Up Net may lead to even more powerful combos in the future, so it is a card that was chosen to be banned. Tournament results and community feedback will continue to be analysed to maintain a healthy play environment. And that makes perfect sense to me. Because you can't attack turn 1 going first anymore, because we don't want players to win before their opponent has had a chance to draw a card. But nowadays, a lot of evolving and support Pokemon, you're looking at 70 HP, which means 4 Tachyon Bits. Well, without Scoop Up Net, it's absolutely possible. But the problem is you've got to get all 4 Iron Valiant out, hope none are prize, switch them all in, etc. The thing about Scoop Up Net is you can have 2 Iron Valiant out, Scoop Up Net 1, the other goes in the active, ability activates. You bench the second. And then you can just do that on a loop. So Scoop Up Net will both reset the ability and act as the pivot you need to get it into the active to use the ability. Which is why Scoop Up Net is such a big problem. Now, it is worth pointing out, well, hang on a second, we'll see, maybe they didn't do this when Paradox Rift came out because there aren't any expanded tournaments right now. It's a fair point, honestly. It is quite a fair point. But you know what? Expanded still exists as a format. And I don't know to what extent it's going to be used in the future. I honestly don't know. But we don't want a potential combo in there, which is going to break any expanded tournaments that do happen. And maybe we don't need it right this second. Maybe expanded isn't a big enough deal right now that we care. But I do think it's one of those situations where we need it just in case, and this is a very deserving ban. I've covered every single ban on this channel. Some of them are more deserving than others, and I hope I've explained to you well enough in this video. This one had to be banned. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes here. We could not let this card run riot. But we're not, so yay. So now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me how excited you are. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Chelsea Rose, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.